What's up, everyone? Mr. NoobTube Gamer. Today we're playing Battlefield 2 in 2024. It's been, 19 years? Damn. I mean, to be fair, I wasn't playing this game back in the day, so I don't feel too old, even though I was alive when this game came out. I think I was like 7 years old if it was 2005, so I was playing video games back then, but I just wasn't into Battlefield because I didn't know anything about PC gaming. I only had a PlayStation 2, and I didn't even know what Battlefield 2 was until, I think after Bad Company 2 came out, because that was the first Battlefield game that I played, and I think as a kid, I was looking up, other Battlefield games and seeing what they were, and Battlefield 2 was one of the games, but I didn't play it until, 2020 or 2021. That's when I started playing Battlefield 2 for the first time. So I think I'm someone that's very qualified as far as whether or not the game holds up, because I'm not someone that's going to be using nostalgia to kind of cloud my judgment as to whether or not you should play this game, because there are a lot of people, there are games that may not necessarily hold up very well after all these years, but people who grew up with them are still going to say it's good because they're always going to love the game because it was an important part of their childhood or their teenage years or whatever. So, wasn't the case for me when it comes to Battlefield 2. That being said, I think this game is still worth checking out almost 20 years later for a couple of reasons. One reason is that there is still a very active player base in 2024. You still have multiple, at least 3, 4, sometimes 5 full servers of Conquest, which for a game that's not only as old as it is, but actually got its official server shut down by EA many, many years ago, but the community brought it back, and the community is very strong and very active. So that's a very good thing. And there's also a lot of variety when it comes to regions. So there are a couple of EU servers, there's a couple of North American servers that get populated, but there's also a lot of Chinese servers, which, it's crazy. This game is huge in China. I didn't understand why or how. I didn't even know that people in China played Battlefields, but they play Battlefield too, because the most populated servers are consistently the Chinese servers. So that's pretty cool, probably because it's a low spec. You don't really need to have a powerful gaming PC. You can have a piece of shit computer and you can run it no problem. And I'm pretty sure people in China don't really buy expensive gaming PCs like we do in the United States and Europe. So it's a very different market, and it's also a free-to-play game. Well, not really. I mean, you download it for free. EA hasn't sanctioned it to be free-to-play, but there are a lot of ways. It's very easy to figure out how to play it for free. It's through a custom client called BF2 Hub. Now, they want you to, have a legal copy of the game, because if they give out free copies, then EA will potentially shut down their entire project. So they don't advocate for piracy, and they won't allow you to pirate. They won't show you ways to do it. You have to kind of find that for yourself. So, I'm not going to get into, how to download it. I'm not going to provide download links, because then my channel can get a strike, and it's definitely not worth that. So, yeah, you guys can kind of figure it out. Look, if I could figure it out, I'm not very smart when it comes to computers and installing shit and doing, crap like that. So, if I could figure it out, I think you guys will be just fine. So, that's one thing definitely going in the game's favor, that you have a lot of people to play with, because there are a lot of old games that there's nobody. It's completely dead. I'd say of all the old Battlefield games, I'm talking, way before Frostbite, before Bad Company 2, Battlefield 2 definitely has the most amount of players on PC. And another thing worth pointing out is that I don't experience any server issues. Even if I connect to an EU server, I live in the East Coast in the US, so your experience may be different if you're, from, I don't know, South America or Africa or somewhere really, really far away. But even when I connect to an EU server, I have no lag. Obviously, a Chinese server wouldn't be very good for me to try to connect to. I'll probably have 600 ping or something like that. But yeah, the servers are very stable and there is very little latency. And I feel like every gunfight I get into, if I lose the gunfight, I feel like it was completely fair and square. It wasn't lag or connection issues that caused me to lose that gunfight. As far as the gameplay and all that stuff goes, I think it's also aged relatively well. I mean, it's obviously, if you're expecting a game like Battlefield 3 and even Bad Company 2, the gameplay is not going to be as snappy as the newer games. It definitely feels a little bit clunky when we're talking about the movement and the gunplay and the overall way that the game plays, but I think it still holds up fairly well for a game that came out in 2005, and overall, I think it's still fun. I think the gunplay is still very satisfying. I think the team play is just amazing when you can get good teammates, and a lot of the gunfights are very intense because a lot of the people that play this game in 2024, they're people who play the game since it came out in '05. So you're going to have some very tough competition if you're a brand new player. You're going to get your ass whooped because these people, they know what they're doing. They've been playing it long enough where they know every move you're going to make, and you got to be very, very careful. So in that regard, it's tough if you're a new player, but I think if you consider yourself a real Battlefield fan, you should definitely play this game, at least to finish your collection and to just to say that you've played all the Battlefield games and you're familiar with the history of the series, because it is a really cool thing to just go through all the old Battlefield games. It's something I enjoy all the time. If I had to rank this among all the Battlefield multiplayer games, it would have to be close to my top 5, if not on the top 5. I mean, I haven't really thought up a list in my head, but it would have to be up there, definitely. I think for the most part, great games are always going to be great games. Even 30 years from now, this game will still be great, it's still a lot of fun. It may not have all the bells and whistles of the newer Battlefield games, the destructibility and all that stuff that people come to know from Battlefield, ever since Frostbite Engine, but it's still a great Battlefield game at its core. The maps are fantastic, like I said. The conquest is so much fun. It's some of the best conquest that you'll ever have in Battlefield, and all the different classes. It's very typical, if you've played Battlefield 3 or Battlefield 4 or Battlefield 1, you'll be familiar with all the classes, like the Assault and the Recon and Engineer and all that stuff. It's all there. So I think as long as you come in with an open mind, not expecting it to be as polished, obviously, as a game like Battlefield 3, Battlefield 4, and Battlefield 1, then I think you're going to enjoy this game a lot, no matter what kind of Battlefield fan you are, whether your first game was Battlefield 2, or if it was Battlefield 2042. Well, if that was your first game, I feel very bad for you, but still, you get my point. I think it's still a good game, it's still a fun game, and you should definitely check it out in 2024.